Usually I steer clear from live action family films because I find that most of them are now becoming kind of pretty corny in one way or another. Of the movie I saw today, it was kind of quite of a deception. Mostly because I got curious about it. The movie I saw today was none other than The Kid Who Will Be King. The trailers make it look a little bit ridiculous in my way. Kind of like going into the typical family-friendly territory that could have something of a great potential, but they want to go a little bit too much on the family film route. But there are two things that kind of attract me. First of all, it's not an American film, it's a British film. And I do have a little bit of a faith on British films that they can do some family films right, comparing to Americans. And considering that I did hear some good reviews from past British family friendly films like the Paddington films, I thought that I decided to go for it at least once. But the other reason why I decided to go to see The Kid Who Will Be King is mostly because it has elements of Arthurian legend. And honestly, I really like Arthurian legend. It's kind of, I know that it's a little bit outdated in cinematographic terms to come up with a story of Arthurian legend. King Arthur, Merlin, the Excalibur sword, and so on, so on, so on. But for some reason, when they use it as an element for fantasy, I feel attracted to it, and I decided to go for it, even though the trailer felt like it's gonna be one of those corny kid films that, oh dear, now I call it a kid film when I'm not supposed to be calling that. So, well, yeah, I just came back from it, and we got the typical fantasy young story about a kid named Alexander who, while he's very noble and truthful at heart, he just wants to do the right thing. He is bullied. He's bullied. He feels so exasperated by the injustices that that I do understand that he gets call outs and blaming him that he is the one who starts fight when he was actually defending his friends and all this stuff. He just is kind of like a good kid in the wrong world. But one day, while escaping from his bullies, he goes to a construction site where he finds the legendary sword Excalibur, stuck on a pillar, concrete pillar. I mean, he pulls out the sword, and well, he apparently he become no, he just becomes kind of like the chosen one to to wield the sword Excalibur and also raise an army to prevent the enchantress Morgana, who is also from the Arthurian legend, to raise up and to bring out her army of the undead and conquer the world. And technically, as you can see from the trailers, Alexander takes his best friend and also his two bullies, which I'll get to that, in order to save the world from the Enchantress Morgana. First of all, I'm gonna warn you that there are some things that I'm gonna spoil you a little bit of this movie because it's there kind of talking about it. But right in the get-go, I will say that don't let the trailer fool you because the kid who will be king is actually good. I just came out enjoying this film. It may have some corny moments, but it's not. Well, there are some parts that are kind of like embarrassing moments, but the way it was handled, the story, some of the subject themes that it has, it it earned its spot to become a really, actually a good movie. Not a perfect movie, but something that is, it has this correct balance to make it both a good movie, an enjoyable film, and something fair that probably younger audiences might might enjoy it, in lack of better terms, safely. I'm not kidding to say that this is probably that for a long time, it's probably the best movie in many years that you're gonna have on something that is based on Arthurian legend. And not exactly the King Arthur legend, but something that takes the elements of it and put it a little bit into the real world, or what you call the modern world, and make a simple story out of it. And honestly, I'll say that this movie is million times better than that garbage movie called King Arthur Legend of the Sword. I don't remember that really messy movie from 2 years ago. And this the kid who will be king who does a million times better job handling the material than the adult one. So let's go on with. I will say that, first of all, the acting is really good even for young children. Young British children, they do their acting fine. I think that some people might get caught off guard with their British accent, but come on, it's not that difficult. There's some parts that they could be wooden in here and there, but even for child actors, they're doing a really good job. The main character, as a character, he is. You can see him that he's not exactly like a. What was the term for a Mary Sue for a man? John Doe or something like that. He's a kid who he tries to do the right thing, but sometimes he feels disillusioned by the injustices of the world in a way that he just kind of feels like he's gonna give up until he somehow gets the chance. And his biggest support is usually his best friend, who is this chubby kid who wants to learn also how to become a magician. And for some reason, this chubby kid kind of reminds me of a mini version of Peter Parker's best friend from Spider-Man Homecoming. And our main character Alex also has his mother, who also loves him, but you're gonna see him that there is a little bit of a rocky foundation on the family, because Alex misses his father, and apparently his biggest memory from his father is this children's book of the King Arthur legend. And speaking of which, I do really like that at the beginning of the movie it shows with a really great 2D animated sequence that tells of the Arthurian legend, that is on the movie. Not exactly perfect, but I really love 2D animation. There's also the other characters include also the bullies, who is this tall blonde kid and this Afro-American girl who I don't know if they specify if he's his sister, girlfriend, or lackey, but whatever it is, these two bullies, they kind of come off as scumbag. And if you people kind of know me, I am the kind of person who really wishes the worst on bullies, because bullies doesn't deserve to exist. Sorry, it's my thing, but at least this movie kind of gave out a little bit of three-dimensionality on these characters. Although you have to deal that for the kind of like the first half of the movies, these bullies, they are treated like the 90s style bullies that you're gonna see. Like, oh yeah, I am king around here. Yeah, you're gonna see some kind of dialogue that feels a little bit corny, just to shoehorn in that. Yeah, they're saying, medieval stuff just to fit into the the world of modern world of King Arthur, let's say. And I just swear that there was one moment in which they just they just dropped down from an altitude, and kind of like the bodies from the Power Rangers. But again, like I said, there is kind of like a small arc into them to kind of that makes them not only redeemable characters but also human characters. Not in a perfect way, which I wish they could have done it a little bit more strongly, but it has its right amount. And well, we got also the main villain who is Morgana, the enchantress from the King Arthur mythology. Oh yeah, and she's also King Arthur's half sister, who in this case she's kind of like this enchantress who, out of spite, battled King Arthur. She's been sealed into the underworld. She passed a little bit most of the time into what I could consider it hell. She acts a little bit sultry, but that's kind of her character, and the way and in a way, let's say that because the world is divided by war, anger, distrust, and all this stuff, she grew strong, and little by little she's coming to the modern world, and so every night she kind of sends her fiery undead warriors to try to kill Alex and try to get Excalibur, which is the sword that can vanquish her. Well, I'll get to a little bit of a plot point, but I'll have to talk to you about Merlin. Ah, Merlin. What I just kind of hip hop into either liking or being annoyed by this guy, because it was kind of funny how he got introduced into the movie, because he just comes out of Stonehenge like the freaking Terminator. Naked and being oblivious to everything. He talks to other people like fish out of the water, and everyone look at him like that. Kind of like, like these usual, family-friendly films in which we got some guy who doesn't belong, and he just thinks that that the world works like he just thinks that it is. But it gave me a kind of like a bit of a chuckle. Oh, and by the way, you're gonna get two versions of Merlin. First of all, he said that he ages backward. So when he's young, he really looks like this tall, prudish guy, I would say. What was the name of the actor who played this young Merlin? Angus Imrie? Or Imrie? I don't know how do you pronounce it. But it also has this running gag that it sneezes a lot. And whenever he sneezes a lot, it either turns into a very, very, very old owl, or he turns into Patrick Stewart. Yep, he turns into... His old version is none other than Patrick Stewart. For some reason, when he's Patrick Stewart, I take him a little bit more seriously compared to the younger one. I mean, how is that possible? Apparently, maybe it's because Patrick Stewart has the power of showing wisdom compared to a young actor who doesn't have much experience. But man, let me tell you that on the first minutes of Merlin, he really shows up as some wackadoo guy out of doing things out of nowhere. Then he gets into the school as incognito as a guy named Martin for some reason, I think. And he creeps out on our hero Alex, kind of like a creeper. And he does a really embarrassing thing, saying that he is the king in front of the school cafeteria. And naturally, everyone throws food at him because he's acting crazy. Oh, and also, he just tried. There's this little running gag in which he's losing his strength and he needs ingredients for a potion that I didn't understand what it is because maybe it's the thick British accent, but apparently those things are in ice cream and fried chicken or something like that. And also a plot point that the movie has is that every time when an action scene happens, when the army of the dead rises, they always comes out at night. And I don't know if it is a clever or dumb how can I say, plot exposition or something like that. Or, no, that's not the correct word. A plot device that they use is that whenever the army of the undead wants to kill our heroes, they make the other people disappear. So I think there is a budgetary reason to not have extras, to not have many people run around. They just want to have the action scenes clear. If you think about it deeply, I was just thinking why you need it, why there is a clear, why you have to make people vanish except for the heroes in order for the army of the dead to, find them, kill everyone who is Link or in the case of what they have in the movie, knighted by the sword Excalibur. This is a little bit of a dumb plot device that they use. I don't know, probably to not have too much chaos around. But when you think about it, when you think about it, it kind of doesn't work even as a kind of like a villain plot device, because if they can make these people disappear all of a sudden, so why bother? I just kind of just think why bother creating really, really high stakes. And speaking of high stakes, I think if I have to say which is my biggest gripe about this movie, is that the stakes, while it looks high, it doesn't show it. It doesn't show so much that it has some high stakes, in which I will say that nobody dies in this movie except for the army of the dead. But how do you kill an undead? But this is much shows kind of like in the climax, in which the climax is really, really epic. I admit that it's a really epic climax, but doesn't feel that the stakes are high, mostly because you don't see anyone die, or you don't see any trace of blood. Although, let me tell you that this is a little bit of a pussy move, to in a lack of better words, for this kind of cinematography, especially since I am mostly encouraging people to be a little bit more harsh, even on their family-friendly films. But I will say, and I will say a little bit of a kind of like a spoiler, is that it comes to a point in which it balances it out with a big thing that happens to our main character, and that involves his father. I'm not gonna exactly reveal what happens, but the journey of our main hero to find his father, who he thinks that he was also a knight from that he was also battling the demons and all this stuff. I'll just leave you with this hint. His father's demons, he didn't mean it literally. And when you reach to that point when it's finally revealed about this father, and it has to do also with the relationship of his mother, it is a real sucker punch. And the way that it's handled is great. And the message that it leaves is really, really valuable. And I really like how it was handled. It is one of those harsh truths that parents and children must learn. And that part, it makes me respect this movie even more than it should be, even for a innocent family-friendly film. Some other element that this movie has, let's say, visual effects. The visual effects are actually pretty decent for let's say, a British film. Again, the visual effects are much better than the King Arthur Legend of the Sword. Man, that I'm not gonna give up on roasting that other movie. The Arthurian Legend is even more clear. Not exactly 100% right. And the cool thing is that the movie acknowledges it. Okay, what else? I think that I gotta warn you that the pacing can be a little bit tiring. It is a long movie. I'll say this, and this is one of those rare movies that has two climaxes. So I warn you that that when you feel that the movie it feels that it's over, it doesn't. You're gonna feel tired. That's a little bit of a risk that this movie has. But truth to be told, because I was so into the movie, I didn't mind. I didn't mind that double climax that it has, in which it has a really good climax, a very epic climax. But again, I'm not gonna hold any bar saying that yeah, it didn't erase too much stakes, because it's still bloodless. It still doesn't have people dying. Although we do during the majority of the movie, we do get to see people disappearing and Merlin apparently having the powers of hypnotism and using his, I don't know, I kind of like how he uses his hands like this to make magic. It's kind of silly, but I don't know. That's all I have to say. What else I can? I think that it's pretty much fair enough that this is all I can say about the kid who will be king. I will actually say that please support this movie. Give it a watch, and don't worry, there's no sequel bait or sequel hook to like it didn't earn it, like some other movies that I just saw this year in January. So let's say that this is probably one of the better movies I have seen at least this year. I mean, the year had just started. And for a family-friendly film, I feel satisfied. It's much better than some other family-friendly films in live action that I have seen before. So I do recommend it, at least to have some fun time with Arthurian Legend. It may not be your cup of tea, but check it out. I hereby knight you. I hereby knight you your rights to see this movie. So with that said,